Hello, this is CryftEntertainment, people, and I'm here with my double Dagger Elementalist, and I'm going to show you a bit my spec, my build, what the things you have to look at about an Elementalist, and how it would actually work in tournament PvP with this spec. But that's for later, actually for later, in a few minutes, or whatever. But first, go to options, and if you're going to run a Dagger Elementalist, I really advise you do not pick auto-targeting, because we're going to use jumping abilities, we're going to use them to escape or to go to swap to different targets or whatever. Don't have this on, because Guild Wars 2 will automatically tap to a random target and it's really bad. So let's not use that. I use a auto-targeting key that auto-targets my opponent. Really doesn't work right now, GG, because I don't know why. Doesn't matter. So anyway, I have a key that auto targets for opponents, and I can also untarget and then just do my combos. So anyway, let's take a quick look at the combos right before we start. As an Elementalist, you're going to really work on your combos. So you're going to work on switching your attunements around, and one of the popular combos is ride this one. So you start with ride the lightning and then do an updraft. So we now have them knocked back, we switch and we move forward, bam, and we burst down. So normally this would go a lot faster, but I did it really slow. Instead of going to fire, you can also move to earth and do magnetic grasp, up to your opponent and then knock them down. In group fights this is generally very good. If you go to fire, you know, it's really a burst spec. If you go to water, it's a real sustain spec. You can heal yourself up, and when you use your glyph of elementals, it's really advised to use it with ice, because it just makes you very sustainable. With air will be your moving ability, doing a little bit of debuffs, and you'll generally switch to it just for the ability ride the lightning. Because if you're fighting a few people, you untarget and you just go away and you move really fast, and they won't be able to chase you unless they still have all their mobility cooldowns up. And let's face it, the Elementalist is just one of the fastest classes in game, if you're of course running a Dagger spec. But anyway, let's take an actual look at my hero here. This spec it's advised for you to change it. This is the most general spec you will find for an Elementalist. I run this spec because it's not too tanky and it's not too squishy. It does the amount of damage and has the right amount of sustain. So it's advised for you to change it if you're going to do some tournament PvP. This is just a battleground spec. I use it for, you know, generally running around and just kill people, killing the noobs. But if you're in a tournament spec, you can change it to what your team advises you to do, or your task in your team. So anyway, as you can see, the power is not really that high, neither is the crit. You have a lot of vitality and a lot of toughness, so it's a really balanced out spec compared to whether you're going to full out in power or precision. So, you know, it doesn't look like a lot of crit, but you do have a lot of crit damage because of I'm using 6 rune of superior rune of divinity, which gives you 10 to all stats and 2% critical damage. And you think, well, it's not that you'd have that high crit, why would you do that? I have a lot of talents that really go into the crit, and plus, since you're going to spam abilities, 20% crit is still a lot. So, and when you use arcane abilities, you know, I am using 2 arcane abilities here, Arcane Wave, Arcane Blast. When I use those, I gain extra crit and such. I also use Mist Form to escape, or to generally negate some damage. You know, invulnerability is a very good ability. And I use the Glyph of Elemental Harmony as a healing ability. It gives you, well, it gives you a lot of buffs. It's really nice. It's really good. So I use Superior Rune of Divinities, like I told you. As you can see, well, 10 to all stats. You can say, why don't you just go for power? Well, it all depends, because if you're in a Zerg group, if you're going to do some, you know, join up a tournament, it's going to be very different than if you're just going to join normal PvP, because it's going to be much of a Zerg. You know, if there are 4 people on you, while, you know, normally in 5v5 I don't think there will be 4 people just, you know, always on you. You're going to have to run 2 points and stuff, so you can go for a much more squishier build. So it's up to you to change these things. In the weapons I have makeshift dagger of air, so every time I crit I do a lightning strike, very strong, and also 5 critical chance. And as you can see, well, the 5 critical chance is not already implemented in the stats. So you also have to take that into account. Also, oh yeah, the soldier's amulet for the toughness and the vitality, that's why it's so high. So you can also change that out. And I have also changed the standard jewel to a berserker's jewel to give an extra power and precision and also crit damage. So my crit damage is actually very high. So if it crits, it actually has some use. So anyway, the talents, bit in precision to get that crit higher, and also it go for the glyph inscriptions. So like right here, I grant a boon when I cast a glyph. So when I cast it in, for example, ice or we know water attunement, I will gain regeneration, so I gain a lot more sustain. And this is important when you just queue up with like 10 people and face each other in a random battleground. So a bit different in SPVP, but that's for you to change again. All your weapon skills recharge 20% faster, gives you a lot of sustain. This water stuff, it gives you a lot of sustain, and you know, it's really good to have water in your combo. You generally would think, yeah, but wouldn't I use fire to gain more damage? It's all about that sustain, and plus healing your allies with while doing damage at the same time, that's just really good. It's really supportive. So, and your DPS is much higher than you would probably think from this build. So you think it's probably very tanky. It's a lot higher than you would think. So anyway, I have a 30% chance to gain a vigor on critical hits, which means I have lots of sustain again. When you attune to your own element, you're going to use a lot of combos. So when you switch to air, then go to fire, I gain swiftness and might, which will again increase my damage, and it's not implemented in these stats. So it's all something you have to take in mind. Elementalist is a very versatile class. And when I do a dodge, which you will also, you will dodge in PvP, preferably, otherwise you can't negate the damage. Nice quick tip I can give you is you can use your Ride the Lightning to get over the fence in the Forest of Niflhel. So it reduces falling damage, and it really you can cut off your path. This won't work though in the Battle of Kylo. You can't jump over the hedge, so you're stuck behind the hedge, so bear this in mind. The reason why the video was a bit cut off there is because I was going to do some PvP, but I was watching a live stream and the footage got a bit lost. It was very laggy, so I have to keep in mind that I can't do too many things at one time. So, but don't be afraid, I will load a lot of Elementalist footage in the future. Why? Because, well, I'll be playing Elementalist a lot. It's one of my favorite characters, one of my favorite class combos, and I have a lot of fun with it. And I think not a lot of people play it, so that makes it a lot more exciting for me as well. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. This was Cryft, and I will see you next time.
This is your conscience. Subscribe.